Thank you for bearing with us regarding our medical emergency with one of our Pomeranians yesterday who had 3 seizures back to back. We started to try to film after the first seizure thinking things would be okay, and it wasn't. So thank you guys for being patient with us. She's okay today, doing great. And after her last seizure, we knew she was back to normal when she started to try to get the Rottweiler away from her food. That's always a good sign. Anyway, but we figured we needed to shut down and have it as quiet as possible so she could just relax from her seizures. So anyway, you've seen this guy before. So welcome to another episode on our channel. You've seen this guy before. He was the guy I produced for the Pony Express, and that was a fascinating episode because there was a lot I didn't know about the Pony Express. I didn't know it lasted only 18 months from 1860 to 1861. I didn't know that. Well, I didn't know the exact end point. You know, I knew they started in St. Joseph, Missouri, but I didn't know it was a whole journey from St. Joseph, Missouri to Sacramento, California. And they were to try to cover that amount of territory in 10 days or less for the delivery of the mail. I didn't know that their target population for riders were young men, orphan men, and they were looking for riders who were 125 pounds or less because they wanted to keep the weight on the horse to 165 pounds or less. So if the rider was 125 pounds, it meant they could carry 20 pounds of mail and 20 pounds of other material, which I imagine included the saddle as well. So they wanted things to be as light as possible for the horse. And I knew that there were lots of stations along the way from St. Joe to Sacramento, California, but I didn't know that the riders had to ride 8 to 10 hours to get from one point to the next point. These were spread apart about 15 to 20 miles for each station. So one rider would ride to one station, and then the next rider would start and go to the next station. They were well paid. One source said that they were making $25 a week, which would be $100 a month. Another source said that they were making $125 a month, but that was at least twice of skilled labor, what they were making a month, up to maybe $2 a day, if that. And unskilled labor was up to $1 a day, if that, starting at 41 cents to maybe up to $1. So these riders were making a very good living doing what they were doing. It was dangerous, though, because sometimes they had to ride at night. I guess one person the horse ended up tripping over something, and that person died. So it was not a safe type of job. But I imagine there were lots of jobs that were not completely safe back then. So anyway, I had made this guy. And then on eBay the other day, I saw a cowboy hat for sale for like $20. And I said, I bet I could make a hat. I mean, my husband has made resin hats, but I was thinking maybe I can make a hat out of other material. So we'll pause and I'll get set up for that because I did eventually make a hat, and I think it turned out quite well. So if you're wanting to make a Western hat, I'll tell you how I did it. We'll be right back. We are back, and just understand, I didn't have a template when I did this. I just kind of estimated how things should go. So I took a piece of leather and I made an oval on it based upon the hats that I had. I kind of thought, okay, this is about the size that I should have. And then I cut it out. I won't do it right now, but just understand it was basically an oval, not a circle, but slightly oval. Then I took some material, and it was about an inch high. So it's a rectangular piece, inch high. And I ended up super gluing it together in the back. Just like this. Just super glue that part together. And then I kind of created an oval here. And super glued that down in place. I think you can see it. I think that's better. Then I took a more narrow piece like this, and just along the bottom, I super glued that in place in the back. And then I took a piece that I kept trimming it to make sure it would fit into the hat. And then very carefully, I would super glue one piece to one part of the hat and kept going around until it was fully super glued in place right below the top of the hat. So I eventually created a hat. And it ended up looking like this. So you kind of have to keep moving this up so it kind of has that upturn swing. Although way back when, hats didn't always look like this. You kind of see more hats kind of looking this way, which is kind of interesting. So this is more of a modern look than it is an old-time look. Although some hats did kind of have somewhat of this look. But let me pause and get this hat on a head, and then we'll see it on this head. But it turned out quite well. And then we'll put the head with the hat. We'll kind of do a roundabout, get a close-up of it, and you can see the hat a little bit better. It's rough, but back then things were rough. So, but I was real pleased with how this turned out. So we'll be right back. Now you'll probably recognize this head. I had done Robert Pattinson at first with a Van Dyke mustache and beard. He was going to become my third musketeer. Got him, after I made him, I do what I typically do when I get on the internet, because I've been looking for a third musketeer outfit for ages from Ignite. It's called the French Guardsman. Wow. That was quite a bang. It's called the French Guardsman. Anyway, so after I had made the Van Dyke head out, or the beard, out of, or for Robert Pattinson, and he looked great, on the internet I found a third French Guardsman outfit. It wasn't a complete set, but enough that I could make it work and have my third musketeer. And so when I got everything together, I had to make boots for him, I had to make a sword, and I had to make 2 other swords that matched that sword for the 3 musketeers. When I got done with that process and I went to put the hat on Robert Pattinson, his hair was so broad, the hat would not fit. So plan B was using Jude Law, a head that I wasn't in love with. And the Robert Pattinson I wasn't in love with because it kind of looked like Robert Pattinson, but it didn't. It was a good head sculpt, but it wasn't a good match for him, and neither was the Jude Law one. So I made Jude Law with I put a Van Dyke mustache and beard on it and painted it and so forth, and used him as a third musketeer. And then I saw an auction on eBay for a ton of heads with a couple of heads, the same heads, and I knew that head would be perfect for the third musketeer. So I got that head lot, and I did the Van Dyke thing and put that one on the third musketeer. And I'm couldn't be happier now. So now I have Jude Law lying around, not doing anything. So I decided to put the cowboy hat on him. And let's see him from a distance, and then we'll get a close-up with the hat. So you can probably maybe see the seam in the back. That's where I super glued everything together. And of course, this part is super glued on top of the hat itself. There you go. So we'll pause now and try to get a tighter close-up on him so you can see more details of the hat. So we are back, and now you can see quite a few more details. It's basically brown leather. So, and I wanted it to be rough, and I think it does look rough. You can see, again, the seam in the back now. You can see where the super glue is used to attach the top piece to basically the top of the hat. But I like this look. So, yeah, there you go. We'll pause now, and then I'll take the hat and kind of tip it forward so you can see it a bit better. So here is Jude Law. When I had him, he kind of looked like Jude Law, but it wasn't really a great Jude Law head sculpt. So I decided to cover his receding hairline. He got a hair transplant via Magic Sculpting, and then he got the Van Dyke mustache and beard and so forth. Now, here's the hat. Now, the part you didn't see was the top. So it is super glued in place. And it has a rough look. I understand that. But I, personally, I love the rough look. So there it is. I'll get it right. That's probably the best look at it. All right. So we'll pause now, and I'll put them on the other guy so you can see them and show you the holster that matches this now. So here is our Pony Express guy with the hat. The only thing I would do differently with the hat is probably, instead of an inch tall, I would probably make it 3/4 of an inch tall. So I would make it a little shorter in terms of the top of the hat. But other than that, I'm really happy, given I had no template to work from, and I just guesstimated what needed to be done. It turned out fairly well. But just so you know, there are patterns, there are human hat patterns out there that you can just reduce down to 1/6 scale size and come out with a really decent hat. And there are different varieties of hats out there that you can make. Tonight I made a holster to match the material I used for the hat. This gun is actually a resin gun that my husband made. I just painted it. I kept it with a black handle, or gave a black handle to it, and made the metal part silver with a little wash attached to it. But this is the holster that I made to include a buckle. It's not hard to do. I actually have an episode showing you how to do this part too. So I couldn't be happier with the results. I ended up with a holster. I'm going to take it off the guy, and a hat that looked pretty darn good from my perspective. So we'll pause now, and we'll get both on this guy and say our goodbyes for the evening. So here's one last look at the hat that I created yesterday with the same material. I made a holster rig belt combo today. I hope you've liked what you've seen. If you have, consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. In the meantime, everyone, please have a great day.